Okay, let's unpack this because I'm looking at a spreadsheet here that, um, quite honestly, it shouldn't exist. If you put these numbers into a standard, Econ 101 model, the whole thing would probably just break.
It really is a paradox, isn't it? It's one of those situations where the data points seem to be actively arguing with each other.
It's a total riddle. We are looking at the Avon Grove School District real estate market,
Hmm.
specifically data from January through, the first week of February 2026. And the signals are completely crossed. On one hand, you have inventory it's just vanishingly low.
Right, empty shelves.
Exactly. And that usually screams seller's market, price gouging, bidding wars, the whole thing.
That's the classic definition, yeah. Low supply usually equals high hysteria.
But then you look at the other side of the ledger, the houses that are listed. They are just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean for a couple of weeks or even a month. We're talking hundreds of days.
It's the immovable object meeting the irresistible force. It's a fascinating stalemate, really.
So that is the mission for this deep dive. We need to figure out who's actually winning this tug of war. Is this the moment a buyer finally gets a deal? Or is the market about to just snap back and leave people behind? And we're basing this on the analysis from the Sear team at Real Broker, LLC. That's
Yeah.
Vincent and Jane Sear.
Hmm.
They've been tracking the weekly stats, the neighborhood nuances, all the community shifts driving this weirdness.
And what's so great about their data is just how hyper-local it is. We
Mm.
aren't looking at some national trend or even a broad Pennsylvania trend. This is, what's happening on specific streets in southern Chester County.
So let's decode it. Take me into the story beneath the numbers. I mentioned that inventory issue. How tight is it really?
It's incredibly tight. If you look at the months of inventory metric for January, early February 2026, we are hovering between 1.4 and 1.7 months.
Okay, pause there. For anyone listening who hasn't bought a house in a decade and thinks 1.7 months sounds like a lot of time, define months of inventory for us. Why does that number matter so much?
Think of it like a grocery store. If no new milk deliveries came in, how long would it take for the shelves to be completely bare? In a balanced market, where neither the buyer nor the seller really has the upper hand, you'd usually have about 6 months of supply.
Oh, 6 months is equilibrium. Everybody's happy.
Correct. That's the sweet spot. Anything under 6 months is a seller's market because scarcity drives demand. Anything over 6 is a buyer's market. So at 1.7 months, we are technically in a super seller market. The shelves are almost empty.
Which should mean houses are just flying off the shelf in 48 hours for 50 grand over asking. But that is not what the data says.
Not even close. And this is where that big anomaly kicks in. You look at the days on market, or DOM. In a market with 1.7 months of inventory, you'd expect DOM to be, what, maybe 14, 21 days max?
Sure, speed is the name of the game.
On January 9th, the average days on market in Avon Grove was 245 days.
245 days, that's 8 months.
It is. And even by February 6th, it had only dropped to 216 days.
That is a lifetime in real estate. I mean, usually, if a house sits for 200 days, you assume it's haunted
Well,
or...
the foundation is made of cheese.
Yeah, or it's built on an ancient burial ground. How do you reconcile we have no houses with it takes nearly a year to sell one?
This is the stalemate. It just signals this massive disconnect between what sellers think their home is worth and what buyers are actually willing or, able to pay. It's a really prolonged price discovery phase.
Unpack that psychology for me,
Yeah.
because that feels like a game of chicken.
It is exactly a game of chicken. Put yourself in the seller's shoes for a second. You see the inventory report. You see there are only like 31 active listings in the entire district. You think, I have the only game in town. I can ask for a premium. I remember what my neighbor got in 2022, and I want that plus 10%.
I hold all the guards.
Exactly. But the buyers in 2026 are they're different. They're dealing with different interest rates, different economic pressures, and maybe just a general sense of fatigue. They look at that premium price and they just say, no thanks, I'll wait.
They're calling the seller's bluff.
They're on a capital strike, basically. And they are winning, slowly. We can see this tension playing out in the price volatility. The swings are actually kind of wild when you track them week to week.
I noticed that in the charts. The median price seems to be bouncing all over the place.
It is. I mean, look at late January. On the January 30th report, the median price spiked to $690,970.
Wow, nearly 700K. That's a serious number for that area.
It is. But then, just 1 week later, February 6th, it settled back down to $625,000.
That's a huge drop in 1 week.
It is. Now, to be fair, in a tiny sample size like 31 listings, if one big luxury home sells or gets delisted, it can skew the median a lot, but that volatility tells us the market hasn't found its footing yet. It's still sort of searching for the floor.
And it feels like the floor is moving.
Mm.
But there was another stat that really nailed this standoff theory for me: the price reductions.
Ah, yes, the slash and burn. This is the telltale sign of seller capitulation.
In the January 23rd report, nearly one-third, 32.1% to be exact, of all listings had price reductions. That feels incredibly high for a quote-unquote low inventory market.
It's completely contradictory to that headline, isn't it? Usually, low inventory means you hold your price. You know someone will eventually pay it. But here, 1 out of every 3 sellers had to basically admit, okay, I overshot, I messed up.
And it was still high in February.
Right. By February 6th, that number settled down to about 22.6%, but that is still a significant chunk of the market just waving a white flag.
So if we synthesize this, we have seller ambition colliding headfirst with buyer caution. Sellers are testing the upper limits because supply is low, but the buyers are forcing them to retreat because, well, affordability is capped.
That's the perfect summary. It's a market of high friction. Nothing is easy right now. Every single transaction is a hard negotiation.
Okay, but Avon Grove isn't just a monolith, right? It covers a pretty wide geographic area in southern Chester County. 31 listings isn't a lot, but where those listings are has to matter.
Absolutely. The menu of Avon Grove is really diverse. You can't treat a townhouse in the borough the same as, a horse farm on the border. The lifestyle and the buyer pool are totally different.
So let's break that menu down. If I'm a listener trying to figure out where I might fit in, what are my options? Let's start with West Grove Borough.
West Grove Borough is your charming small-town option. This is really the heartbeat of the community. You've got a walkable downtown, you've got local shops, restaurants.
It's that Main Street vibe.
It is, and the housing reflects that. You have historic homes with those big porches where you can sit out, but you also have some newer construction mixed in. If you want to walk to get a coffee or see your neighbors on the sidewalk, this is where you look. It's dense, it's social.
Okay, now contrast that with Landenberg and London Britain Township.
Yeah.
Because looking at the map, this feels like a totally different planet.
It basically is. This is down near the Delaware line. We call this the secluded choice.
So this is for the person who hates seeing their neighbors.
Or just values privacy and nature. You're talking about acreage here. You're talking about access to White Clay Creek State Park. It's winding roads, heavy woods, streams. This is where you go if you want a retreat, not a subdivision. You are buying serenity.
Then you have Avondale. The report calls it the gateway to mushroom country.
Which is huge for the local identity and the economy. Avondale tends to offer a more affordable entry point than some of the other townships. It has a very strong, tight-knit community feel, plus you are incredibly close to Longwood Gardens, which is just a massive lifestyle perk.
Oh, yeah?
Having world-class gardens in your backyard, that drives up the quality of life metric a lot.
I also saw New London Township mentioned. This seems to be the spot for the history nerds.
Guilty as charged. New London is deep roots. It's home to the New London Academy, which was attended by signers of the Declaration of Independence.
No way. That's serious history.
So you have that historical gravity there. It's rural, lots of farmland, very scenic. It feels like old Pennsylvania. If you want one of those old stone farmhouses that feels like it has stories to tell, you look in New London.
And finally, Penn Township.
Penn Township is often the sweet spot for commuters. It's sort of country with convenience.
Yeah.
You get the horse properties and the rolling hills, but you're geographically closer to Kennett Square and all the amenities there. You aren't quite as out there as you might feel in London, Britain, but you still have your space.
This is where the source material really shined for me.
Mm-hmm.
The 13 mentioned they've done something like, 22 transactions in Avon Grove since 2009?
Yeah.
And they made a point that really stuck with me. They know things like which streets flood and where the school bus routes run.
That is the ungoogleable data.
Right. You can find the square footage on Zillow. But Zillow won't tell you that if you buy on this specific road, your kid is going to be on the bus for 45 minutes each way because of how the route loops.
Or that a certain street at the bottom of a hill turns into a river every time it rains heavily. That kind of hyper-local knowledge, it changes the value proposition of a house entirely. A house might look cheap on paper, but if it has a wet basement every spring, it's not cheap. It's a money pit.
Speaking of value proposition, let's zoom out. Why are people even looking in Avon Groves in 2026? It's not in a vacuum. It's sitting right next to some heavy hitters like Unionville and West Chester.
It is, and those markets, West Chester, Unionville, Garnet Valley, are just uber competitive. They're the heavyweights. Prices there have accelerated to a point where a lot of buyers are just priced out. They are looking for an alternative that doesn't feel like a big compromise.
There was a great story in the source material from a client, Brittany B. She said they were hunting in Garnet Valley and Chadds Ford. She basically thought she was going to be homeless for a year because she couldn't win a bid.
Right, the buyer fatigue in those markets is very real. You put in 10 offers, you lose 10 times, you start to wonder if you'll ever move. But then she shifted her focus to Avon Grove, and she found a home in 3 to 4 months.
So Avon Grove is the relief valve.
It's the smart value. It's the more affordable entry point into that Chester County lifestyle.
Yeah.
You aren't sacrificing quality. You're just moving slightly further out to get more house for your money.
And crucially, you aren't sacrificing schools, which is usually the big trade-off.
Not here. Avon Grove High School is A-rated.
No.
But there's a specific detail in the report that caught my eye, and I think it's a major driver. The dual language immersion program.
Tell me about that. Is that just like a Spanish class?
No, it's much more comprehensive. It's an academic program where students learn in both English and Spanish from a young age. The goal is true bilingualism and biliteracy. It's highly coveted. Families will actually target the district specifically for that program.
Oh, wow.
They want that competitive edge for their kids in a global economy. That directly drives property demand.
So it's not just good test scores. It's a specialized curriculum you can't get just anywhere.
Exactly. It's a real differentiator. And we're seeing broader investment in education in the region, too. There is a news item about the new Engel Education Campus launching in Chester County.
I saw that. And the Chester County College Fair offering direct access to higher ed.
When you see a region pouring money into education campuses, that's a leading indicator for real estate stability. It means the county expects growth. It supports long-term property value because good schools and college access, they anchor a community.
Right.
It attracts the kind of demographic that cares about home ownership.
Also about that lifestyle blend.
Yeah.
We talked about the rural vibe, the rolling hills, horse farms, but you aren't totally isolated.
No, not at all. You're 34 miles from Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
you need to go into the office 2 days a week. It's doable. But when you come home, you get the Pennsylvania high school football culture.
Friday Night Lights.
It's huge there. The rivalries, the stands packed on a Friday night that builds a social fabric you don't always get in a transient suburb where people just sleep and leave. It makes people want to stay, which keeps turnover low and, inventory tight.
It all connects. Okay, so we know the lay of the land. We know the market is in this weird, high-price, slow-sale standoff. Let's get practical. I want to role-play 2 scenarios for the listener.
Let's do it.
Scenario 1. I am a buyer in 2026. I have my pre-approval letter. I've been burned in West Chester. I'm calling this person the Hunter. What is my move in Avon Grove?
Okay, Hunter. Your biggest asset right now is that number we started with, 216 days on market.
Leverage.
Massive leverage. You are not in 2021 anymore. You do not need to waive your home inspection. You do not need to offer your firstborn child or name your dog after the seller. You have time.
So I shouldn't rush.
You should be confident. Look for those listings that have been sitting for 60, 90, 100 days. Those sellers are getting fatigued. They are stressing about that days on market ticker. They are the ones who are statistically likely to be in that 22% group who are cutting prices.
So I can come in with a slightly lower offer and not get laughed out of the room.
You likely won't get laughed at. You'll get a counter offer because there are no other buyers banging down their door. The silence is your ally.
Is there a trap here, though? Can I get too cocky?
Yes. The sources explicitly warn about this. Well-priced homes in hot pockets, like a pristine colonial in West Grove, they still sell faster than the average.
So if I see a gem that just hit the market and it's priced correctly...
Don't play games. If it's priced right, it will move. That 200 days average is dragged way up by all the overpriced inventory. Don't assume every house is a sitting duck. You have to be discerning.
Got it. Okay, flip the script. Scenario 2. I'm the seller. I'm listing my house in Avon Grove this spring. I'm the strategist.
The strategist needs a reality check immediately.
Ouch.
I'm serious. You cannot list at a wish price. If you look at the comps from 2 years ago and just add 10% because you feel like it, you are going to become a statistic. You will be the house sitting there for 245 days while your neighbors wonder what's wrong with it.
And nobody wants the stigma of a stale listing.
It's the kiss of death. Once you hit 90 days, people assume something is broken. The advice from the SEER team is clear. Strategic pricing and staging. Because the pace is so slow, buyers are ticky, they have time to look at the scuff marks on the wall, they have time to critique your 1990s kitchen cabinets. You can't rely on panic buying anymore.
So I have to look perfect and price aggressively.
You have to look compelling. But remember, you do have one ace up your sleeve.
The inventory.
Right. There are only 31 active listings. You are a scarce commodity. If you price it fairly right in that sweet spot where buyers see value, you hold the cards. You can still drive a great sale because there is simply nowhere else for them to go.
So it's a delicate balance. You have the power, but only if you don't overplay your hand. If you get greedy, you lose all your leverage.
Precisely. It's about being the most attractive option on a very, very short menu.
Bringing this all together, Avon Grove in early 2026 is a fascinating case study.
Right.
It's a market of contradictions. Low supply, yet slow sales. It offers huge value compared to West Chester, but it demands patience.
It really is a unique moment in time, and frankly, it raises a bigger question about the future of this area.
What's that?
We talked about that tension between rural character and suburban convenience. We see the appreciation. Vincent and Jane tracked, what, $1.74 billion in appreciation across these neighborhoods over the years? That is massive wealth generation.
That's a lot of money tied up in real estate.
With the new education campuses, the high demand, is Avon Grove poised to lose its hidden gem status?
That's a provocative thought.
As it becomes more discovered, as more people get priced out of West Chester and move here, does it just become the next high-priced suburb? Does that rural character get priced out?
So if you want in on the hidden gem phase, the window might be closing. You might be buying at the tail end of the discovery era.
It's very possible the secret is getting out.
A huge thank you to the SIR team, Vincent and Jane, for this deep dive data. Their weekly reports are incredibly detailed.
And hey, if you are a homeowner in Avon Grove and you're listening to this thinking, well, what about my street? They actually offer a custom appreciation report.
That's useful.
Yeah, so you can see if your specific neighborhood is beating that 200-day average, or if you're lagging behind. It helps to have that granular data because, as we learned today, the average doesn't always tell the full story.
Definitely check that out. Whether you're hunting for that farmhouse in Mushroom Country or selling a townhome in West Grove, data is the only way to navigate a market this weird.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you in the next one.